But appreciate the Lord. Brother Sparks asked me this morning to preach tonight. And I preached down these lines before. And not that it's a recopy of the message that I preached before, but I've used some of this in time past. But the book of Psalm, chapter 62, verse 5. And we'll read that. Psalm 62, starting in verse 5, it says, "My soul wait thou only upon God, for my expectation is from Him. He is my rock and my salvation. He is my defense. I shall not be moved. In God is my salvation and my glory, the rock of my strength, and my refuge is in God. Trust in Him at all times, ye people. Pour out your hearts before Him. God is a refuge for us. Selah." And then turn back to the book of Psalm, chapter 39, verse 7. It says, "And now, Lord, what wait I for? My hope is in Thee." Thank you for standing for the reading of the Word. I thought, we hope for a lot of things. Right. And Sister Kathy was talking a while ago, and Brother Sparks talking about a mansion that we're anticipating, we're hoping for that mansion. Right. We was on the way to church this morning, and Colin was in the back seat of the truck, and he said, I don't know exactly what all he did say, but he said, "Mama," he said, "I really do think I'm going to go to heaven." And he said, "Because I go to church." And, she said, "Well, it ain't all just going to church. It's the blood of Jesus that cleanses from sins." He said, "Yeah, I've been baptized. It washed my sins away." But he's saying that because in his little mind, he was thinking and having that hope of something better someday. Right. Yeah. I thought, many times we practice hope in our daily routine without even realizing that we're practicing hope. A lot of us, I know I do. Every year I go out and I buy my hunting license, Brother Bill, and they're not cheap. I buy the sportsman's package. Not that I'm a sportsman, but I get my fishing license in hopes to go fishing. It comes with your turkey tag and your turkey license. This year I didn't get to do that. But deer season's come up. I know some of them went yesterday and done got one. But we have hopes of doing those things. That's why we anticipate for it. We plan for it. We plan for those things. And I thought in our everyday life, we go to work and do all the things that are in our hand, and we look forward to, and we hope that after we work and we spend all of our time working and we paid all of our bills, that we can save up just a little bit. Like Brother Sparks said, some of them went away this weekend just for a little vacation, a little time to get away. We hope for those things.
Yeah, we do. Yeah. Come on.
And I thought, and the psalmist said, "Now, Lord, what wait I for? My hope is in Thee."
Right.
I thought we wait on a lot of things. But I thought the most important thing we should wait on is God. We get antsy, if you would. Brother Steve, if he's here, I'd say it because I'm guilty too. But a couple weeks ago, he got to looking for a camper trailer, and he was, he's sending me pictures of a lot of campers he'd find on the internet, and he drove home to, about 2.5 hours to look at one. He got down there, and the lady had the title all messed up, and it wasn't even transferable in the state it was in. She had it notarized, and she'd signed her half of it, so it was, it messed it all up. And so he came back home, and Sister Kathy said, "He is so impatient." And I thought, and I sort of laughed because I've heard her tell me the same thing. You are so impatient. I remember going on 2 years ago now, I was looking for that truck that I'm driving now. And I mean, I looked and I looked and I looked and I just couldn't wait. I just had to find me a truck. And she said, you're going to have to just wait. You're going to end up jumping into something and spending all your money and having something we can't even drive. Because I was anticipating. I was looking forward to it. And I enjoyed it. I remember when Sister Laura first got her license and my Uncle Wayne, he had a little truck that was Sister Teresa's dad's, and he sold it to me, and it'd been sitting for a long time. And I got it out, and we did a lot of work to it. We got it running, and put ball joints and different things in it. But I'm telling you, that thing would drink the gas. And just a 6-cylinder Toyota, but I mean, my V8 Chevrolet wasn't as hard on gas as that. And I thought, she can't drive this. She liked the little truck. We fixed it up and had it looking pretty good. But I sold it and got a little money, and we was looking for vehicles, and we'd get out in the evening, me and her and Sister Kathy, we'd drive around and looking, and we'd get out and we'd look at different cars, and Kathy told her, she said, your daddy really enjoys this. It's just something I was doing. I was anticipating. I thought, we have a lot of things we anticipate in life. But the main thing that we should be anticipating is what we're going to do for God. And I thought, where is our hope? I thought, a lot of us, we put our hope and our expectations in the different things of this life that only lead to disappointments. And I thought the word hope there, it's a simple word, and it's a feeling of expectation and desire for a certain thing to happen. And I thought, so what it is, it's an anticipation and wanting something to happen or to be the case. And what David says is, my expectation is in the Lord.
Oh, yeah.
And I thought many times we lose our expectation, and we look around us, and all the problems that we see and all the failures can cause us to lose our hope. I thought, sometimes simply situations that we find ourselves in can cause us to lose our hope. I don't know about you, but I've been financially struggling at times. I don't know, we're not rich, we're not on top of the world, and we still live. I mean, I miss a week's work, and I'd still be in devastation, Brother Bill. Most of us would. But it's not as bad as it has been in times past. And I thought, but never have I lost my faith, or have I lost my hope, because I knew what God was able to do. And I thought, but it's easy for us to lose our hope. We look around, and if we put our hope into the things of this world, I thought then we would all be devastated. The promises that the politicians make. We listen to those promises, and we listen to those big statements that they make, that the things that they are going to do, and then we realize that the way Congress and all that stuff is set up, but unfortunately now they don't even pay no attention to Congress, or allowing the courts to make the decisions. The Congress should be making. So we look around and go, where is our hope? What are we going to be able to do?
Come on, man.
But I thought, but the thing is, we can lose our hope.
Right.
I thought I read a little story, and it said that a school system in a large city had a program that helped children keep up with their schoolwork during sicknesses or stays in the hospitals. It says one day a teacher was assigned to a program and received assigned to the program, received a routine call to visit a particular child, and was given the child's room number, and the teacher told her, said, we're studying on English, and we're studying adverbs and nouns, and said we would be grateful if you went and talked to this young man and helped him with those so he wouldn't get behind. And I can relate to that. I mean, you hear me talk. I'm terrible with English. And Sister Kathy, she's good at it. And she homeschooled and taught her kids. And so when I read that, I thought, man, if I got out of school any length of time, then I'd get behind on my adverbs and nouns. I mean, I need somebody to help me with my English. But that's what they was doing, this young man. And so the hospital program teacher went to see this boy, and they had not mentioned that this young man was badly burned, and that he had been a tragic accident, and he was burnt. And so she walked in, and she saw this young man in all of this pain. And she began to work with him, and she began to talk to him about try to teach him the nouns and the adverbs. And through all the pain, he was moaning and crying. And as she began to teach, and she felt like she was just a terrible failure, Brother Bill. And so she left the hospital, and the next day, or a couple of days later, she went back, and as she walked in, the nurse met her and said, "What did you do the other day when you were here?" And she said, she was just upset. She thought, well, what I've caused, maybe he's in worse shape now. And she said, well, all I've done was come and done what they told me to do. She said, I'm sorry for any upsetness or I could have caused her. She said, no, you don't understand. She said, after you left, we began to see a significant improvement in him. And she said he began to improve, and it's like he got a desire and a will to fight harder than he had ever fought before. And so she went back in, and she sat down again, and she began to teach him his nouns and his adverbs and all the things about English. And she said that they would continue to see this young man as he began to fight harder and harder. And finally got to where he could speak, and they asked him, what made the difference? And he said, when they sent a woman, a teacher in here, to teach a boy that was burned as bad as I was, and to try to help him with his nouns and adverbs, I realized that they was not going to send somebody to help a boy that was dying. And I realized that I wasn't going to die. And I began to fight. He began to have hope. And I thought a lot of times all it needs is just something simple to shake us up and realize we've got a greater hope than we realize. There's more for us than what we think is out there for us. We've got a greater hope. How about sometimes we lose focus on the things that we've learned, and we trust in, and we simply lose our hope. Well, it's a sad thing when you see somebody lose hope.
That's right.
It's when you see someone that just simply gives up. And I thought, I know there's a lot of people and a lot of circumstances. People go through circumstances, Brother Bill, that we will never understand. But yet, they've got to have a reason to fight.
Right.
There's got to be hope. I thought, we can look over the book of Luke and chapter 24. Very familiar scripture. I'm going to jump into the middle of it here, verse 19. And here in this story, we find two of Jesus' disciples on the road to Emmaus. Very familiar. And in verse 19 it says, and he said unto them, what things? And they said unto him, or go at verse 18. He says, and the one of them whose name was Cleopas answered and said unto him, art thou only a stranger in Jerusalem, that thou hast not known the things which are come to pass in these days? And he said unto them, what things? And they said unto him, concerning Jesus of Nazareth, which was a prophet, mighty in deed and word before God and all the people, and how the chief priests and our rulers delivered him to be condemned to death and crucified him. But we trusted that it had been he which should have redeemed Israel. And beside all this, today is the third day since these things were done. Yea, and certain women also of our company made us astonished, which were early at the sepulchre. And when they found not his body, they came saying that he had also seen a vision of angels which said that he was alive. And certain of them which were with us went to the sepulchre and found it even so as the women had said, but how they saw not. You see, while Jesus was walking with them every day, they had great hope. They had no reason but to have hope. He was with them. He told them that he was. And they could touch him. They could physically see him. But now, he's crucified. And in verse 19, he tells them, says, asked them concerning Jesus of Nazareth, and they said, which was a prophet. See, now they're looking at Jesus in the past tense. Right. You know, they're describing him as he was a prophet. And then in verse 21 says, but we trusted that he had been, that it had been he which should have redeemed Israel. They looked and they thought he was going to be the one, but now he's gone. You see, they had lost their hope. They were no longer able to visibly put their eyes on him. They didn't realize that they were walking with him. They really realized that he was the one that was asking them questions. But now they are looking at the things that Jesus had done in the past. They had simply lost their hope. And a lot of times it's easy for us to simply lose hope. How about you take someone like the illustration of the young man laying there in the hospital, burnt, and I thought it could have been, it would probably would have been even a greater tragedy had not that teacher came in and just simply said, today I'm going to work with you on your adverbs and your nouns. And the little boy realized, if I'm struggling with this in school and she's going to come to the hospital, there's a reason. They're expecting me back. Right. And he began to have hope. And I thought sometimes it's simply something that we deal with every day that can jog us a little bit and make us have hope. Right. I thought, like I said, I remember, and I don't know why it didn't came to my mind, but I remember several years ago, whenever I felt like that I had went as far as I could go. And I felt like that spiritually I was just in a place where that I couldn't come up, Brother Bill. I mean, I was struggling. And I just came to a point, I'm going to give up. I'm just going to forget about it. And then I began to think about my children and my wife, and I began to think about their future. And if I give up now, what does the future hold for them? And I thought I began to think and put all these things together, and I realized I've got hope. I've got something to press on for. That's right. If not just simply for me, but for my children. And now I've got grandchildren, and I have a desire to see them grow and get stronger in the Lord. How about we have got a great hope tonight in the Lord if we just strengthen ourselves.
That's right.
But how about sometimes in order to strengthen ourselves, we have to simply push out on our own. I remember Brother Sparks was talking this morning about when he'd been having those headaches and no pain pills. It's been right at 9 years now, I think, when I had back surgery. And I remember going to work, trying my best to push through the day. I mean, in such pain that I'd go out and I'd get everything going, get them working. I'd go in, I'd sit down in my office, and I mean, I'd be so weak and in so much pain, and I was just shaking all over. And taking those pain pills, and just making me sick to my stomach, couldn't eat. Lost about 25, 30 pounds. And just terrible. Go home, take a pain pill, lay in the bed, get up the next morning, start the same routine. I mean, it was a terrible state to be in. And I remember walking into the hospital the day of this. First I went to the doctor, and then went in. They sent me to the surgeon. I walked in. Here I was, 38-year-old, walking with a walking cane, and walked in, and he does something to the back of my legs, and I couldn't even feel it. I mean, the nerves was just dead back there. And he said, you're a young man, I can help you. And I said, please, I don't want to be here. And but I remember the day Brother Sparks took me to the hospital, and I walked in on a walking stick. And I remember the next day after they done the surgery and released me from the hospital, they took me to the van in a wheelchair. And I got up and I stood and I walked. And I thought I didn't feel that pain in my legs and my back. I was sore. And I got on in and home. They took me home. The time I got home, I was hurting pretty bad. I mean, I just had my back cut open. And they gave me some more pain pills. I went to bed, and I'd done that for about 3 or 4 days. I don't know. Finally, I decided I'm not taking these things no more.
Come on,
I was tired of that. I didn't like that feeling. And so I quit taking them. And yeah, I was in pain, but I had hope. The pain was not in my legs like it was. I just had an incision pain back there. That, you know, how that is, a soreness. And I thought, but I seen all that, and I thought, you know, there's better than this.
Right.
I could have just said, I give up.
Yeah.
I'm going to be like this the rest of my life, and just dealt with it. But I struggled, and I knew that there was better for me than where I was at.
Right.
And I thought a lot of times we do the same thing spiritually. We get spiritually wounded.
Right.
People do get spiritually wounded.
Right.
I mean, there's things that can come at us, and the enemy can throw darts at us that can wound us in a way that we will sit back and we'll realize this is all there ever going to be for me. But I thought there's a greater hope for us
Right.
if we'll just realize and be like that young man and say, you know, there's something greater for me. Somebody's reaching out to help me, so there must be a greater hope for me. I thought tonight, as they come against the song, I thought, what is it that's causing you to lose your hope tonight?
Right.
Whatever it is, we can get beyond that. I remember I've been in the hospital, and I've seen a lot of people that's in bad shape. And I thought there's nothing no worse than when you look upon someone and you know that for a fact that it's not going to be long, and they're gone. You know, it's a sad thing. But when you look on someone and you know that they can be strengthened if they would just simply try, and they don't want to try.
Right.
And I thought I've seen those situations where people have just simply prematurely given up and lost all hope.
Right.
And I thought if we do that spiritually, we'll be lost. We can't give up hope on the things that God has got to offer us. Is that good as a song tonight? I feel like I've struggled. This is all I had tonight.
Preach good.
But I thought there is a greater hope for us.
Yes, it is.
And our hope is in the Lord.
Oh, Jesus Christ.
The hope of all the things,
Hallelujah.
the fine things of life. And there's nothing wrong with having a few things. I preached the other night. I mean, I've got things that no, I don't need. But the Lord's blessed us and He's allowed us to have them. I mean, you know, we don't have to have all the things we've got. But I thought when we get so caught up in our things, that that's all we're striving for is things. I thought if we're not careful, we'll lose our hope in God. And we'll lose our hope in the thing that strengthens us the most. I thought, I don't know about you, but I have a desire tonight. I don't want to give up. And I thought, not like Brother Sparks said, there's not very many people that even when they're dying really want to give up. I mean, they're going to fight as long as they can fight.
That's right.
Because it's just a natural desire in them. And I thought that as long as there's life in them, they have desire. I read in the news just before church. I don't even remember where it was at. It was a man and woman just got married. He was 95, I think it was, and she was 81. Or maybe he was 90 and she was 80. And said they met and they just fell in love and just knew they didn't want to live their lives with her. I thought, why would anybody that old decide to get married now? But they've got life. They wanted that companionship. There's nothing wrong with that. I don't guess. I mean, that's what they wanted to do. But I read that and I thought, they've got hope. They've got hope if they've got a few more days.
Right.
That they can spend some time together and enjoy one another's companionship.
Yeah.
But if they had lost all hope, then he would have said, well, she's a nice looking lady, but there's no need for, there's no hope for me. Yet he'd seen a reason. He said he asked her out on a date. So they went out on about 3 dates, and he realized, I don't like taking her home every night. I'm just going to ask her to marry me. And so he did. And I thought, he had great hope. And I thought, what are we hoping for? Are we going to just simply give up?